Welcome back to my channel, all my haunted followers. I know it's been some time, and I apologize, but life happens, and next thing you know, it's been nearly a year since I posted a video. But I am back, and I have brought you 3 new Skinwalker Encounters. For now, that is. I have well over 20 stories that I need to record, so bear with me here. I will say, I want to thank all of you who have stuck by me and have sent me many messages. If you have an idea for a story or you want to hear something, please submit them to alexune101@gmail.com. And again, thank you all. As always, sit back and prepare to get scared. Not everyone believes in the supernatural, and I get it. It's not something that happens to us every day, but when something like that happens, it changes our views. This occurred in the summer of 2018 when I was working for a local tow company. It was around 11 p.m. Dispatch called and informed me that a downed vehicle, battery issues, and this is not uncommon. However, the area that it was in is called the Boondocks, or the middle of nowhere, I call it. It was a 25-minute ride from my location. I called the customer over the phone, who told me that he was having engine problems. I told him my ETA and headed out. I was driving listening to my music. That night was fairly dark, and those roads, even with headlights, they don't make a difference. Checking my GPS on my phone, I was 5 minutes out. I turned to my phone for no more than 2 seconds. I looked up, and in the middle of the road was what looked like someone standing with fur or something, like a fur coat. I quickly hit the brakes on the truck. At first, I was actually shocked, but grew very angry. I hit the window button and yelled out, "Hey! Not cool! I almost hit you!" These parts are known for their strange things, but this one bit the bullet. The person didn't react. They just stood there. "Hey! I said move!" But they just stood there. I wasn't about to get out of the truck, that's for sure. I put it to drive and started to drive. I pulled far along the right side and went around them. I looked at the person, and they were just staying there looking at the ground. As I rolled by, I made sure to lock the doors on the truck, but a chill ran up my spine as I started to drive faster. And all of a sudden, boom! A massive slam came from the deck of the truck. I looked in my rearview mirror, and in shock, this thing, or this person, had jumped onto the back of the bed. But man, it felt like someone had dropped the car into the truck. I saw this thing start walking towards the cab, and that's when I got a good look at its face. A deer skull with long sharp teeth and what I can only describe as this long disgusting tongue. A very hungry looking tongue. I know that sounds weird, but this thing looks so hungry. Hungry for me. I punched the gas and luckily this thing just lost its balance. But instead of falling off the truck, it jumped right into the woods. And when I say jumped, this thing jumped 20 to 30 feet in the air. I don't expect anyone to believe me, but man, I promise I'm not making this up. And I promise I'll never catch a toe in that area again. I want to make sure that I get every detail right as much as possible in the story. However, it was nearly 15 years ago, and something that I don't like to remember. Details will be messed with, I think that happened, but please hear me out. Something like this should be forgotten. I warn you, the story gets pretty gruesome. It was fall. Myself and my partner wanted to go camping in the Virginia mountains. A beautiful getaway with spectacular views and unforgettable moments. Well, that's how everyone paints it. But not me. The trip started out amazing. Now, I won't mention the location to protect the local town and save it from those who will knock it off to not go there. It was a 4 hour drive from where I lived. The drive was amazing. Well, that's probably the most memorable part of it. We got to the location where you park, and we started trekking to the campground. It was about a 5 mile hike from the rest area. It was around 9 a.m. when we arrived. It was beautiful out. We made our way through the woods, taking in the sights. My partner mentioned how amazing the sights were. From a distance, we could hear what only sounded like screeching. Now, I'm no animal expert, and by no means a country boy, but the noises we heard at the moment didn't sound like an animal. It was weird. It almost sounded like someone was recording it and playing over a loudspeaker, but the noises were so unearthly, it gave me the chills. But we pushed on, trying to ignore the noise. About 4 miles in, about a mile out from the campground, this ungodly smell filled the air, almost like a blanket. It was disgusting, and nearly made us vomit. My partner mentioned how the smelled like the hamburger we had left out over a week in a cooler. My God, did that smell. I agreed, and he made it a point to say that it sounded like rotting meat. I nearly was gagging, and the sound came again, but it was closer. This time the sound was more real. Like this time, it was an animal. I was attempting to cover my face with a bandana while I was looking down. My partner screamed, "Oh my God, Evan! Look!" I looked up to where he was pointing. It was a dead something hanging from the tree. I honestly can't tell what it was at the moment. It was mutilated. My thoughts quickly came to a dog, or some type of canine, because I could tell by the paws. I jumped back in shock and horror. Then this thing came walking out of the woods. If anyone has ever seen a horror movie with a monster in it, well, there's your image. It was tall, with a long snout, antlers, and very long, disgusting-looking fingernails. It looked like it hadn't eaten in years, but it still could look like it could rip us apart. At first, I really thought it was a person, until it growled. Then I saw its teeth, wet, long, sharp teeth, and very black eyes. My partner fell backwards, and it made its way to him. In a flash, I reacted and picked up a rock, and a good sized one at that. I hucked it as hard as I could, right at its face. It yelled in pain and turned to me. It started to make its way towards me. It talked. It actually talked. "Naughty, naughty Sean. Die, die now." It knew my name. "Run, Sean!" my partner yelled. I ran for him and tried to pick him up. We ran as quickly as possible, and it was right behind us. It grabbed at us. "Die!" it yelled. Then we made our way to the campground, screaming for help. Pop! We heard what only sounded like gunshots. Looking up, we saw two men with guns. "Move!" one of the men yelled. Pop, pop, pop! The monster yelped, again in pain. It turned around and ran for the woods. Then it was gone. I got to my feet, thanking both men. The man, an older-looking man at that, looked at me and said, "Never go into these woods without a gun, boy." I nearly catching my breath. What was that? The man just shook his head and walked away. We never left that campground that day. In fact, we barely left sight of those men. They never gave us an answer and didn't even really speak to us. We just wanted to forget about what it was. Fortunately, we haven't, and we never will. Whatever is in those woods, just don't go in there. Don't go in there without a gun, and be prepared to use it. This is a very short story, but it happened to me so quickly. I have no explanation to what I had seen that day. It was a Saturday morning, and I was out four-wheeling behind my woods. We own a good-sized land connected to a very large farm. I typically hit the trails looking for possible coyote sightings, being that we have farm animals. I wasn't really going fast. Coyote tracks are pretty easy to spot. About 200 feet from me, on the trail, I saw a deer run across the trail. Not uncommon, but typically they stop and look. But this one was running from something. I stopped my four-wheeler. Then, this thing ran across the trail. My best description goes as this: 7 to 8 feet tall, very scrawny, with long arms and short legs. Its arms looked longer than the legs, and it appeared to be using them to push off the ground to move faster. It has these long horns that come across a face of a deer or cow skull. It stopped, looked at me for no more than 2 seconds, then pushed off again. I was in shock. I turned my four-wheeler around and drove back home to tell my dad. Of course, he didn't believe me, and probably never will. I don't know what the heck that thing was, but I wasn't about to stand around to find out, and I wouldn't want to mess with it. P.S. Maybe this thing is a reason we haven't seen deer or coyotes in several months. Well, all my haunted followers, I hope that you enjoyed those stories as I did. What is it about skinwalkers that frighten us so much? For me, I think the biggest thing is that they're so real, in a physical sense. I've never really thought I've encountered a skinwalker, up close, that is, but the story with the two gentlemen who encountered one. It sounded like that thing was there to hurt them, and hurt them pretty badly. If it wasn't for those two men, I don't think that they'd be here to tell those stories. And that's what I think is so frightening about skinwalkers, is they can harm us. Guys, again, I really appreciate you guys sticking by me, and I know that it's been a really long time. I have well over 20 stories that I need to record, and I really appreciate everyone who's continuously sending me these stories. Guys, stick by me, and I really appreciate it. I think the next kind of stories I'm going to be doing is a couple of paranormal stories and encounters with ghosts. Again, if you guys have any thoughts on what you want to hear next, or some ideas for a story, please send them to alexuni101@gmail.com. Do not forget to subscribe to my channel down below. And always, happy hauntings.